Thank you for joining us for this important session to learn more about our nation's prestigious service academies. We look forward to hearing from our distinguished panel of representatives from each of the 5 academies. They're available for questions, so please take the time to speak with each of them at the conclusion of this event. We also have staff from our office present today to answer questions that you may have about the nomination process. My name is Angel Robertson, Outreach Coordinator for Congressman Brian Mast. It is truly an honor for me to recognize not only a veteran, but someone, a leader of our team. He's a leader of our community and a leader of this country. I introduce you to Congressman Brian Mast.
Good morning. Number one, just glad to have you all here. Glad to have your parents here with you as well, or your family who's ever here with you. It matters because it's a decision that is probably made by the family. It should be made by the family in part because it's not a light decision to think about going to one of our nation's military academies. But I just want to say, just the fact that you are here makes me proud of you, gives me hope in this country that you are interested in becoming a part of what I always say is where are service members on that flag. I believe that service members are the stitching that hold together those 50 stars and those 13 red and white stripes. That's where you find them on the flag. They hold it all together for this country. And to tell you a little bit about this process, why you serve, what you're about to get yourself into, I just want to say this. I think you serve for a couple of reasons. We all find different reasons to serve. These people up here, they found different reasons to serve. It depends on whether you're at home, whether you're abroad, whether you're in combat. When you're in combat, you're serving because you'll do anything that you can to protect the life of that brother or sister to your left or right arm. That is literally what you will do on the ground. You have a lot of reasons why you serve, but you're there serving because there's not one thing that you wouldn't do for your country and that person to your left and right. When you're thinking about just entering the military, there's something inside of you, hopefully, that you say, I love this place. I love America. My chest goes out and my chin goes up when I think about this place. And when I think about America, this is me. I always tell people, whenever I get to speak to young people, I say, to me, the flag means that when you wake up today, you get to decide that today is better than yesterday, or you don't. But that is your choice every day that you wake up under 50 stars and 13 red and white stripes. You get to make it a better day or not. And not everybody across the globe has that kind of opportunity and that kind of responsibility. You get that as Americans, and in my opinion, that's worth fighting for, it's worth defending, it's worth inspiring to the next generation, because that's what you will become if you become service members yourself, is you will become inspiration to the next generation of service members. For those that served prior to me, I tell them all the time, it's you that made me say, that's all that I want to do, that's all that I want to become, is just like you that served in the Gulf War, or in Vietnam, or in Korea, or in World War II, my family that served. I just wanted to be like that. That example that they set has made me say, that's what I want to become. And you will become an example for someone else. There's a number of reasons to serve. Not just that. That's a part of it. But you know, there's something that you get out of service personally for yourself as well. You are going to become more disciplined individuals flat out. When I went through high school, I was a terrible student. That's just the fact of the matter. I spent more time chasing girls, thinking about parties, and playing sports, and I was not a good student. After I went through the service, when I had the GI Bill paying for my education benefits, I ended up graduating from Harvard with honors. There was a difference in the middle there, and that difference in the middle was what the military did for me to make me a more disciplined, more driven individual. And I believe that it'll do that for every single one of you as well. That's a part of it. It's amazing education benefits. When you think about the education benefits that you get, going to one of the top schools anywhere in the world, being a part of that brother and sisterhood in arms that you become when you go to a service academy, coming out, having a guaranteed job for a certain number of years, and as long as you stay in that job for a certain number of years, being able to retire at the moment that you hit the 20-year mark and start collecting a substantial portion of your pay, there's not very many places that exists anywhere in the world. And I'll just bring this back to myself here briefly to say, you know, had I not retired from the military, I wouldn't have been able to run for Congress in the way that I did, right? Because when I ran for Congress, I had to be able to pay the bills for, my family, for my kids, for everything that's associated with that. But I was retired from the military at that point. So I could have a budget and say, all right, I can live off of what my retirement is. I can do nothing but campaign for Congress that first time that I want to run for Congress, and maybe my community will let me do it. But that was an opportunity that was afforded to me because I served a career in the military, retired from the military, and had a military retirement benefit coming in for both my pension and my health care for my family. A lot of you probably aren't thinking about that yet today, but you will think about it down the road. Ask your parents. They will tell you. You will be thinking about that down the road. So there's a lot of different reasons to go out there and serve, the benefits to yourself, what it helps make yourself, and what you're doing for your country, defending this place. When you come out to our Service Academy process, which you're going to hear more about, we want to learn about you. That's why we do what I consider to be the most rigorous selection and assessment process for any of the individuals across the country that are asking to go to Service Academies. Why do we do that? Because we want to get to know you. We want to learn about you, that you love this country and that you have a heart for it, that you're not a quitter. Because if you're a quitter and you show that in our selection and assessment process, when you head off to the Service Academy process that's going to be far more rigorous, you're definitely going to quit there. It doesn't mean that you have to achieve everything first time with the best possible score and everything. You should strive for that. That should be a goal that you try to reach when you come to our selection and assessment. But we want to see what makes you who you are. Did you fail and you kept going, and you failed again and you tried again, and you failed again and you tried again? That shows us a lot about who you are. We're going to ask you questions as you're going through this. Tell us about what you know about the Constitution. What are the fundamental freedoms of this country that you think are worth defending? Why do you think it's worth supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and then end that with "so help you God"? Why do you think that that's important to go out there and take as an oath and believe as an oath? Because that will be your oath as a member of the military. We want to know those things about you. We want to know that when you take that opportunity to go to a Service Academy, that it's not just because your parents are pushing you into it. If your parents are pushing into it, then you should be proud of your parents, because they're pushing you into something awesome. I hope that my children choose that path one day, and I try to push them towards that path. But it can't just be because it's what your parents want for you. It has to be because it's something that you want for you, that you have a drive for to achieve in your own life. And that's something that we have to learn about you. Which school do you want to go to? And maybe this school isn't the best school for you, and one of these folks up here can tell you why maybe this one is a better opportunity that you may not have even realized for a myriad of reasons. Right? We're going to talk through those things. We're going to work through those things. We're going to learn about you. We're going to put you through the rigor. You're going to go, let's go to some of the things that we're going to do when you go to our selection and assessment. It's not a secret what we're going to ask of you, how we select you physically and how we select you mentally, right? We're going to take you to the Navy SEAL Museum in Fort Pierce, which is an awesome place. You're going to have an opportunity to tour it, see a lot more about awesome military operations that have taken place as a part of Navy SEALs, because that's where you're at there. You're going to do a run on the beach. You're going to do a 1-mile beach run. So between now and then, if you have not run, I suggest that you start running, right? You're not going to get my assessment solely because you come in first, but that's something that we're going to look at. Hey, good job coming in first. That showed us about a level of discipline inside of you to go out there and prepare yourself, whether it was just now or whether it had been for the last 10 years, whatever it is. Or, listen, when you go to the board the next day, you were the last one to come in on the run. Did you prepare yourself or did you not prepare yourself for that? And you're going to answer for that. It doesn't mean that that's the decider of yes or no, but we're going to ask that you answer for how you perform on everything, how you perform physically, how you perform on the obstacle course, how you perform on the Army's PT test, how you did perform with your academics to date. Why is your GPA this, or what happened in this class? How do you perform with leadership positions and things like that that you pursued as extracurricular activities? I was at all of the service academies this summer, and one of the things that I took away from all of these service academies is that it's not just important because you all are asking to be leaders. That's why I take this so seriously, because you're asking to be leaders in the military. It's not just important how many extracurricular activities that you have. Do you have 50 extracurriculars that you're doing? It's important, have you pursued leadership in one of those? Did you do one of them well instead of 50 things in a, I don't want to say mediocre, it doesn't mean that you weren't doing well, but let's just use that word right now in a mediocre fashion. They want to see that. Were you a student body president? Were you on the student council? Were you the captain of one of your teams? Did you start a club? Were you leadership in one of your clubs? What did you do to pursue leadership? Because make no mistake about this. If you go to a service academy, you come out of those academies a leader automatically the day you graduate and you pin on those bars. I was an enlisted man in the U.S. military. I served about a dozen years in the U.S. military. I served in our highest level of special operations. I loved it. But the day that you graduate that service academy, you outrank me, even as an operator in special operations for a number of years. That is a serious responsibility. You hold the lives of your friends, other service members, and our nation's enemies in your hands. That is why we take this process so seriously, because I know what it's like to have good leaders, and I know what it's like to have bad leaders. And my friends that are still serving, I want them to have the best possible leaders, and we want to make sure that you're the best possible option for leaders in this country. We can talk to you about a number of ways to get into the service academies. Even if you don't make it round one, getting my nomination, there are other opportunities to get in there. Going to prep schools, going into the active duty, the Guard, Reserve, and then taking an opportunity to transition into one of the military service academies. There are a variety of ways to get there if option A doesn't exactly work out to get there. But we want to answer all your questions. We want to learn about you. We want to make sure that we're not weeding you out, but we're preparing you to make yourselves the best possible presenters of who you are, so that we can easily say, yes, I want to give you my yes for say, I want you to go to the academy. I want you to go to the academy. I want you and you and you to go to the academy. We want to get to yes. Help us to get to yes by making yourselves the best individuals to do that. So, I've spoken a little bit about that. We're going to get to all your questions at the end. I think I was supposed to do questions first before these guys, but I want to let these guys speak first. That way we'll probably weed out a few questions. And so let's try to, there's a number of us up here. Let's try to keep it tight, even though I didn't keep it tight, but that's how it goes. Then we'll get to their questions, because they always have the more important questions. Angel, fire away.
All right, thank you, Congressman. Our first Academy presentation will be conducted by Chris Slate and Cadet Riley Wurst, representing the United States Military Academy.
15. 1-5.
No. We'll go 5 minutes down the line for each person, and then you can have all the time in the world to answer the questions that they want to ask.
Same answer.
Got it? Because their questions are the most important part.
Awesome.
So 5 or less.
So I'll tell you what, we got 5 minutes in. Good morning. First and foremost, I gotta ask, how many, before anything, thank you, sir, for doing this. But I'll say that I've been doing admissions now for West Point for about 15, 17 years or so. I've had the honor of working with a number of congressional offices here in South Florida. Nobody, and I mean this very sincerely, nobody has done it the way Congressman Mass has.
You mean across the country, right?
Well, that's right. Yeah. Oklahoma as well. And there are a number of other nominating authorities who throw together an interview panel in November or December, and they interview some kids and they mail out some nominations. Some don't even interview the kids. They just assess applicants based on what they submitted. So thank you, Congressman Mass, for taking this as seriously as you do, and taking opportunities like this to provide all of you the information that you need to make the right decisions moving forward. So with that, how many veterans do we have in the room here? Show of hands. Awesome. I like that. Okay. How many applicants to West Point do we have in the room here? Okay. Well, there should be more. There should be more. Okay. Well, that's good. My name is Chris Slate. I work as an admissions officer for West Point. It's a volunteer gig. If you've emailed me or tried to call me and I haven't gotten back to you, I apologize. This has been a really crazy 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months for me. Be persistent. Just call me, and I will get back to you. I graduated from West Point in '94. Served as an Army officer for 5 years active duty, got out, kind of lived all over the world, been all over the world, been in Florida for about 17, 18 years now. And as a graduate, as an Army officer, as an admissions officer, and then eventually as the father of a cadet, not my daughter. Our daughter graduated from West Point in 2019, so I've kind of seen this from all aspects, and I'm very happy to share whatever insight that I have as you pursue the application to get into West Point. That's me in a nutshell. Would you like to introduce yourself, Riley?
Hi, I'm Cadet Riley Wurst. I'm in the class of 2026. I'm currently a yearling or sophomore at West Point, so I've been through Beast Barracks, plebe year, and then CFT, which is cadet field training you do between your plebe and yearling year. So that's really my experience so far at the academy, and I can answer any questions directly about those topics with my experience.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sean Flynn, and I'm a local here. I've been born and raised in Florida. Lived in Martin County since I was 5. Went to the Naval Academy out of Martin County High School. Was a surface warfare officer for 7 years. Was a defense contractor for another 12 years, and now I'm living in Martin County as a local realtor. But I will tell you really quickly, I'm glad to see so many faces here today. I'm glad that you've taken the time to get curious about a career in the military service. And I'm just going to nod through some slides. I also have Ensign Kim here with me. She just graduated from the Naval Academy. She's doing an operation outreach, which is doing a lot of things like this around the country until she starts her naval career going to supply school. It's not about the 4 years at the academy, it's really about the next 40 years, and I'm going to get to that later. The Brigade of Midshipmen, there's about 4,500 students, 71% male, 29% female, diverse culturally, 50 states, all the territories, and a lot of foreign nationals as well. Some of the best and the brightest from our allied nations send their students to the Naval Academy. When you graduate from the Naval Academy, you have a bachelor's in science degree, you're commissioned as an officer in the Navy or the Marine Corps, and you do a 5-year service commitment. Some of your options are surface warfare, submarine warfare, naval aviation, special warfare, and the Marine Corps. Your basic eligibility is you have to be at least 17 years of age, and you can't be over 23 going into July 1st of the year you attend the academy. You have to be a U.S. citizen, unmarried, not pregnant, have no legal obligations to support a kid. This is some basic stuff, but you'd be surprised it weeds out a lot of people through the process. And be of good moral character, which we'll get more to when we have our discussion after the fact. So how do you get the process started? You go to the U.S. Naval Academy website and you submit your application. The online application form has a lot of things you have to do. I'm going to go through those specifically with the candidates after the fact here. Your physical qualifications. Beyond what the congressman does, the military has their own readiness tests that you have to do for each academy. Medical qualifications. Once you get far enough along in your application process, you're going to have a DAVMR, which is the Department of Defense Medical Exam Review Board, and they're going to do an in-depth physical and sort of find out if you're qualified for military service. The big part here is the nomination process. None of this happens without having a congressman or a senator or a vice presidential nomination saying that you are endorsed to apply to a service academy. There's no other way through this process than with a direct nomination. Some of the things that I tell people, the top 5 reasons to go to an academy. In today's economy, full scholarship is pretty nice. Guaranteed employment, excellent. The places you're going to go, the things you're going to do, the people you're going to see, chance of a lifetime opportunities, leadership and character development, and almost a 90% graduation rate. I use this last slide here because I say it's all about the next 40 years. I recently went to Ireland with some of my classmates. We saw Navy do their best against Notre Dame. The best part about it was the lifetime friendships that you're going to develop through this process. These are people that are going to be there for you for the rest of your lives. You've all chosen to serve in the military, and they're going to be there for you in your darkest hours, and they're going to be there for you with your greatest celebrations. So I'll also say, Ensign Kim, if you have anything you want to add as being a recent graduate, I graduated 29 years ago. The academy is a little different now than it was then, so we can sort of talk about the then and now. after we're done here, all right?
Hi everyone, my name is Lieutenant Rachel Schaefer. I can get started with a little bit about me. So I graduated on June 1st of 2023, so just this summer. I come from a military family, so serving has always been something that's really important to me and my family. Now my brothers and my dad and I are all pilots, so we love to fly. Something that I really loved about the Air Force Academy is that I got to pursue an education in something that was completely unrelated to the job that I was going to get, and I knew that going in, but I had the opportunity to study something that I was passionate about and something that interested me, and I still got the opportunity to serve afterwards. And you get a guaranteed job coming out of any of the military academies, so that kind of reassurance is so great. I'm going to show a quick 30-second video, and then I'll just talk a little bit about my experience, and if you guys have any questions, the application process is very similar to the other service academies, so our Naval Academy representative kind of hit those major points there, so I'll just get into that video.
There's nothing average about the Air Force Academy, or those who come here.
It takes more than smart and good grades.
It takes grit.
It's for the I never quit students, a relentless, persevering, most likely to keep trying until I reach my best students.
Because we will go on to lead others, push boundaries, save lives, and represent American ideals.
If you've got what it takes, prove it.
Okay, so I'm not going to use the slides, but just talking about my experience, I guess. I went into the Air Force Academy. I had my 6 weeks of basic training. Through those 6 weeks, I developed some amazing bonds that you'll develop at any of the service academies. It's truly incredible. In high school, I never could have imagined that you could create these friendships that you can create. Going through all of these somewhat terrible times with these people, it brings you so close together while you're learning about how to be a leader and how to be a follower. Something that people often say about basic training is that it's the most fun that they never want to have again. So that was very true, and that's true somewhat of freshman year as well. So freshman year is a little bit tough until about March when you go through something called recognition. So you're kind of still learning how to be a leader, how to be a follower, you're still learning the ins and outs of the military, and you're still being heavily instructed by your upperclassmen, but post-recognition for the rest of your freshman year and your last 3 years at the academy, you have such a fun time. There's so many great experiences. My freshman year, between my freshman and sophomore year, I got to do the jump program, which is something that a lot of people at the academy do and love, and that is our free fall skydiving program. So you are taught by cadets, and the cadets that are on the jump team are going to be instructing you for about a week on how to jump out of an airplane, and the Air Force Academy is one of the only places in the world that your very first jump out of an airplane is completely by yourself. So that was a little nerve-wracking, but I made it through. So that's a great opportunity that the Academy offers. There's other programs if you're interested in flying, like the soaring program, the powered flight program. We have tons of majors and minors. I can throw that slide up so y'all can look at it while I'm talking. So here's some of the majors and minors that we offer. I think this is another great asset of the Academy. We have something for everyone, and if there isn't something academically that you're interested in, we probably have an academic club that will interest you. We have tons of clubs for athletics, military, and academics, also diversity. And our teachers are really dedicated to the success of their students, so it's an education unlike any other. And then when you go ahead and graduate, here are the careers that you can go into afterwards. This is also great because we have so many different opportunities for individuals. Obviously, a lot of people that come to the Air Force Academy want to be a pilot, but you definitely don't have to do that. As you can see, there's lots of engineering careers. There's lots of careers for everyone else that isn't interested in flying or being an engineer for the military. And we also commission into the Space Force now. So I guess that's everything that I have to say. So if y'all have any questions, feel free to ask me afterwards.
Start the clock. The musical play like the Oscars. First of all, I want to thank Congressman Bass for not only hosting the event, for showing up at the event. I, like many others, get to do these things around the southeast United States, and about 98% of the time, the senator or the congressman hosting the event never shows up. And so it shows his passion. You heard him talk. He's very passionate about it. He could have stayed in Washington right now with all the stuff going up there, but he chose to come down here and be in front of his constituents. So he deserves all your support, and we really support him. I want to mention a couple of things about the differences between the Merchant Marine Academy and the other 4 service academies. Everybody's looking for the same thing, so I really don't have to tell you that we all want leadership, we all want good grades, and so on and so on. I want to tell you about the differences. We are a 4-year school that the curriculum is predominantly tailored toward the maritime industry. We only have 2 majors, not 40 majors. Our majors have probably been the same majors they've had since about 1943 when the school opened. They lead leadership positions in the maritime industry, on the bridge of a ship and on the engineering end of a ship. We're going to send you to sea 1 entire academic year. 10 months, we're going to send you to about 12 or 13 different kinds of ships. So that when you graduate, you have a year's worth of experience. You're also going to test about 1 month before graduation for a master's Coast Guard license. A lot of you live on the coast, a lot of you may be involved in the water, and you know about Coast Guard licensure. A master's Coast Guard license is the highest license the Coast Guard can give. It says that you're certified to be able to work on any size ship that exists or will exist. So, you know, you got the great credentials, you got a year's worth of experience. So you have to complete your 4-year degree, though, in 3 years. That's why a lot of times you'll hear a rep from our school say, our curriculum is more demanding. It's not more demanding because my calculus course is harder than the Air Force Academy or my chemistry course is harder than the Navy. It's more difficult because they give you 4 years for your 4-year degree. I'm only going to give you 3 years to do your 4-year degree. So you've got a lot crammed into each term that you're taking. You're not going to be a student when you're at sea. You're going to be an employee learning how to steer a ship, or you're going to be an engineer to learn how to keep the engines running. So that's a significant difference. 2/3 of our graduates every year choose to go into that maritime industry. 1/3 choose to go active duty military. Another huge difference is you can choose any branch of the military and you're commissioned as an O1 right before graduation into that branch of the service. So you can go Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, Marine Corps, even Space Force from the Merchant Marine Academy. You show up just at the same time as your compatriots from the other service academies. You're selected for Navy pilot training, you're going to show up and there'll be a Navy graduate right next to you. A lot of people think, well, if you graduate from the Merchant Marine Academy, you must have to do something additional because it's not like the Department of Defense ones. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So that's a very important part. And somebody on the staff may be talking about nominations a little later in the program, but I want to throw something in here real quick on those as well. Congressman Mass mentioned that he has a significant number of nominations every year to the Merchant Marine Academy. I would like Congressman Mass to fill all 10 of his positions with people in this room or other people that were unable to attend. We're much more liberal in being able to get nominations to the Merchant Marine Academy than the Department of Defense. They sort of restrict Congressman Mass to only having so many at each of the academies, etc. Congressman Mass could put in 10 this year, they all could get appointed. He could put in 10 more next year, and they all get appointed. He could put in 10 more next year, and they all get appointed. He could literally have 30 people at the Merchant Marine Academy at any given time. Okay? So we appreciate his support. I have a table back here with also with the head of the Florida Parents Association. She can talk to you from a parent aspect for any parents that are there. And I can talk to you about the curriculum and anything else that you're interested in. Once again, thanks, Congressman Mass.
The opportunity. My name is Pete Brown. I was a Coast Guard Academy cadet back in the 1980s. I'm probably the senior person here in the room. I also went back to the academy the second time around as an instructor. So I've got a little bit of perspective there. And I want to pick up on what Sean said earlier about 40 years. Because my career spanned 40 years. And I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about the academy because within the walls of the academy experience, 85% of it is interchangeable from one academy to the next. There are differences based on climate, geography, the amount of money the Air Force spends, things like that. But we already talked about the big difference of no congressional nomination needed. for the Coast Guard Academy, and the Coast Guard Academy is smaller. The student body is about the same as Merchant Marine Academy. The whole student body is about the size of one Annapolis graduating class. That means we're a little bit of a tighter ship in terms of personal relationships. Within the Coast Guard also, about 80% of our graduates stay beyond their committed service, and then about 80% of those go to funded graduate schools. So the opportunities for graduate schools are tremendous. I got to go to the University of Miami. But that's all I want to talk about the Academy. I'm going to tell 2 stories about my mom, for all the moms in the room, and then I'm going to talk a little bit, picking up on what Congressman Mass said about why we serve. So the story's about my mom. So in 1979, I was in my sophomore year of high school, and around the dining room table, my mother, my father, my mother, a teenage immigrant from Ireland. My father announced to myself, my sister, a year older than me, my brother 2 years younger, that there was another baby on the way. And because money was tight, they were blue-collar workers, that they couldn't pay for college for all of us at the same time. So to be fair, they wouldn't pay for college for any of us at any time, which is actually fair. And that got me looking at military academies, and ultimately led me to the Coast Guard Academy and our AIM, Academy Introductory Mission for high school juniors. Okay, so off I go to the Coast Guard Academy. 40 years later, I call up my mother on the way home from work. And I said, Mom, you made it. She's like, what do you mean I made it? I said, Mom, today, the son that you sent to the Coast Guard Academy sat in the Oval Office to brief the President and Vice President of our United States. That happened because of the opportunities that serving in the Coast Guard Academy presented to me. Now, why do we serve? Coast Guard's core values are honor, respect, and devotion to duty. And my belief is that in whatever service one might serve, if we give a full investment of those things, honor, respect, and devotion to duty, we'll get a return on that investment that is immeasurable. One of our former commandants talked about honor as being internal, what you think about yourself, respect, how you deal with others, and devotion to duty, what you're willing to do for our country. I think that if you invest those 3 things, what you get back, and I guarantee this across any service, you will get meaningful work that you can be proud of. You will get great teammates for a lifetime. And you will get opportunity that you cannot understand. In fact, I was telling some folks here, about 40% of the jobs that I did in the Coast Guard didn't even exist when I joined the Coast Guard. And 3 of them I made up myself. So the story about how I ended up briefing the President and Vice President was my Coast Guard career took me to sea. It also took me on my shoreside ladder was in operational and tactical law enforcement. And I also had a fair bit of international relations stuff because I speak enough Spanish. The Coast Guard kept recycling me to the Caribbean. And then ultimately, after having the opportunity to command the 7th Coast Guard District based in Miami, responsible for South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and the Caribbean, I was invited to interview at the White House to become the President's Homeland Security Advisor. So that was my last job in the Coast Guard. And the ultimate payback and opportunity, I guess how much time I have left? I got time for one more story. So the time that all that really hit home to me was what a difference the opportunity that the military gave me was just after I made Admiral, 1 star. I was at a meeting in Brussels, Belgium. It was an Antarctic treaty meeting. And I was there at one of these long, like blonde wood tables like you see in the movies, you know, Dr. Evil microphones and stuff. And it was a meeting about 30 different countries represented there. We were talking about adventure tourism in the Antarctic and search and rescue. And I had something to say, so I flip up my little flag, and then the chair of the meeting notices and says, the chair will now recognize the United States of America. So that kid from the dining room table 40 years ago was representing the United States of America. An unforeseeable opportunity made only possible by choosing to serve within the military, in my case, in the Coast Guard. So I urge all of you to think very hard about what you want to do, where you want to serve, the tactics of which service you choose, which academy you choose, matter less than your willingness to invest your full measure of honor, respect, devotion, and duty.